Hello and welcome to the Flex podcast. Currently sat in my jacket inside because it's bloody chilly. I don't know what's going on. Well, I do know what's going on. It's autumn, so it should be, but it's a shock to my system. Anyway, hopefully I'm going to make this relatively speedy in terms of podcasts because the last few have been a bit longer. But today I wanted to talk to you about whether you should train or not when you're not feeling the full package. So, to be honest with you, if I can say this without sounding a bit harsh, the world tends to be split between people who take themselves off to bed because they inhaled and it felt weird, versus people who are the kind of person that would sign themselves up to fill in for someone at a marathon that afternoon after they've just spent 3 hours chucking their guts up in the bathroom. So we sort of tend to have these two extremes of people, and obviously people in between. And I think partly with this stuff is to recognise who you are. Because people who will do anything to avoid their workout or anything to, but I'm not feeling well, so I just must watch a box set. It's the only thing. Watch the box set because you want to, but you don't need an excuse to do that. You just can say. So those people possibly need to push themselves to do a little bit more. And then you've got people who were trying to work out whilst they're actually poorly, like as in, they've got a stomach bug, or they just had a stomach bug the day before, or they've got flu or whatever. You probably need to rest a bit more. So we need to start to be, one, aware of who we are as a person, and two, to see what we might need to tweak in terms of maybe we often feel a little under the weather. And by under the weather, I mean you might feel a bit tired, you got a bit of a headache, a tiny sniffle. If that happens to you quite a lot, then maybe that there are, we need to potentially change the way that we look at stuff. Because for a lot of people, it's the perspective. And people who are likely to push themselves very hard are people that would not register that they felt that way. So they might be like, oh yeah, I've got a bit of a headache, but I'm just going to go for a walk. Or I've got a bit of a sniffle, oh well, never mind. Snip that first defence up my nose or whatever, I'm sure it'll go away. They don't even really register that it's happening. Whereas to other people, they might be very aware of how that feels, or very aware that they've got another headache or whatever it is. And don't get me wrong, there's validity on both sides. And sometimes we do need to take a little bit more care of our body and notice how it feels. And for other people, we need to stop overthinking every slight change that there is in how we feel, because we do all feel very different every day. Sometimes we're full of energy, sometimes we're not. Doesn't necessarily mean we're poorly. Sometimes we just need to give ourselves a slap and get in with it. So how do we know what kind of stuff that we need to avoid or do? If you're feeling a bit under the weather, a bit tired, you've got a bit of a sniffle, slight headache, then it might be beneficial for you to do some light to moderate exercise. And I don't mean go out and do 7 hours of HIIT training. I mean a walk, a dance fitness class, a nice workout at the gym that's not too extreme. It's nice to move our body, to get those endorphins going, to get the blood pumping, to feel the energy that we get after we've finished training. Because we don't know with those symptoms, we don't know if we're ill or we're just a bit tired. So any of those things, like a little sniffle, you could be allergic to something. You could have inhaled cleaning fluid or something and annoyed your inner lining of your nose. Anything could have happened. So we don't actually know that we're ill. It could just be a little something that's happened in that day. When we start to feel really poorly, as in not super poorly, but we're like, I've definitely got the filth. Again, it might be beneficial for you to go for a walk, to keep moving. You're probably going to stay away from other people at this point because no one wants your filth. So we'll factor that in as well. Especially self-employed people, I have to say. When I've got those friends who don't tell me that they're ill before they've asked me around, I just don't go around their house anymore. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going again. We're only going to meet outside because you don't seem to be able to let me know that you're riddled before I come. But anyway, aside from that, if other people don't want you around, they don't want your germs in the gym, coughing all over the machines and stuff like that. But more than that, you definitely are riddled with the filth at this point, even if it's only moderately. So we do want to take a little bit of extra care of ourselves. And yes, we want to keep moving. We're probably still going to work or working online or whatever it is, but we might be pushing ourselves super hard to do something because we could make ourselves iller, but also because we want to allow our body all its energy to make ourselves feel better. Moving, as in walking, is different to training or doing a cardio class. So at this point, we do want to keep moving and do want to keep having activity in our lives, but we're probably not doing like five-a-side football or whatever it is, something more intense. We're keeping it in that like light to moderate game. When you're actually poorly, as in you've got flu, a stomach bug, you've got a cough that isn't anything to do with a bit of snot and it's all to do with your lungs, we need to rest. And that is when we need to say to ourselves, it is completely valid that I rest. When I start feeling better, I'm going to start by adding in activity, going for walks and stuff like that. Then I'm going to increase it again. That increase might happen relatively quickly if we're quite good at recovering, quite good at feeling better. But for some people, it might take a little while. For some germs, sometimes when we are poorly, it can take a little bit longer to get over it. And especially now we're coming into the winter, there are more germs around. We're inside with people more, and people are coming around us with more filth. So it's nice to be able to recognise before we do get poorly that actually it's okay if we need to rest. It's okay if you need to rest at any time, by the way. But we do tend to have these flip sides of people that maybe like, oh yeah, but I'm so tired after work, I can't possibly work out. Whereas then you'll get another person who's up every day in the gym at 5:30 doing their workout before they do a 10-hour day, just to make sure they can fit it in. We have these two groups of people, and sometimes it's nice to find that middle ground, because some people who push themselves really, really hard all the time, you're going to get run down, you're going to burn out, you leave yourself open and vulnerable to catching more colds and things like that. And likewise, people who do absolutely nothing, don't push themselves for anything, we're not going to get the results that we want from the training, the very little training we are doing. We're not going to see exactly what we want from it because we're not putting enough effort in. If you only go in to do a workout once every 3 weeks on that great day where you feel fantastic and you slept for 10 hours and everything's great, you'd never get anything done. So we've got to find a midpoint whereby we push ourselves. If we're feeling a bit tired, a little bit under the weather or whatever, we push ourselves to go and do something. But when we're actually poorly or exhausted, we can it and we recover. As you go through your training, you're going to get way better at recognizing when you need to rest more. Like I can literally feel it coming. I can't even lift the weights that I lifted last week, the week before that. It's nothing to do with my period, and yet here I am and I feel battered. I need to just go and walk on the treadmill and go home and have 2 days rest, and I'll take my couple of days rest and then I'll start feeling better. Come in, I feel like a new woman when I'm training again. So we just need to start to recognise the signs of our body being like maybe a bit out of kilter, or the signs of us needing to be a little bit more militant with ourselves to make ourselves do stuff. Like, have a rest when you are poorly. There is also no point you trying to do cardio, coming in with the flu, can't breathe, your nose is bunged up, you feel like shit, you can barely move your body, coughing everywhere, you can't catch your breath. What is the point? Go out of bed, get rid of it, come back stronger. This is the thing. And just because you've been poorly doesn't mean you're suddenly out the game. You just need to get back up as soon as you're feeling better, start doing some light to moderate exercise and gradually increase it, and then see how you feel when you get back to your proper training schedule. Everyone gets poorly at some point or another, and we just have to learn to deal with it. Some people admittedly do get ill more frequently than other people, and the first thing I would do, and obviously this isn't the reason for everything because all our immune systems are very different, all our jobs are very different, But I would always make sure that you're eating a large variety of fruit and veg. So you're getting all your different minerals in, all your different vitamins in, things that are going to boost your immune system. Maybe you're going to start having a little look through what other things you might want to add in that we maybe don't eat as much in normal life anymore. Things like garlic, ginger, things that can maybe make you feel a little bit more resilient in terms of your immune system and in terms of your energy levels. So we can have a little look round, see what things there are that potentially might be missing out on in our day-to-day life and what we might be able to add in. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking now, but I hope that's been helpful. Never feel guilty because you're poorly and you can't actually train. You need to rest. That's the cycle. Sometimes we make ourselves iller by pushing through, especially if we're used to training quite hard. And we've all been there. We've all been like, oh yeah, I don't feel like I'm on my top end of the workout spectrum today, but I'm going to push through. And then you wake up and you feel like you've been hit by a wet fish. And that's because you were coming down with something before you even went and did your session. You just didn't know it. So we have all done that. Have no fear. Sometimes you just got to rest after that, let your body recuperate and then get back in it. But likewise, on the flip side, if you know that you'll do anything to get out of your workout, and if you feel like, oh, I've got a sniffle, so I shan't leave the house for 3 days, we possibly need to insert a rocket into our rectum and get ourselves moving a bit more. Even if you're not willing to go to the gym when you feel like you've got a sniffle coming, that's fine. But maybe you'll be going out, having some decent walks, keep your body moving, you do a little home workout, see how it feels. Because a lot of the time, so many times that I go to train, I do not feel at my best before I get started. But once I start, I feel a lot better. And I am not ill. I am just tired, or I've come straight from work, or I didn't sleep as much as I wanted to, or I don't know, I ate something and now I've got indigestion, anything. None of those things mean I'm poorly. They all just mean that I need to get a little grip and get my body moving. So anyway, stopping talking. I hope that was a cuddly way of giving you a bit of a talking to, regardless of what aspect you're coming from, because we're all coming from a different angle, and sometimes neither of the extremes are correct, right? We want to be somewhere right in the middle where we're looking after our body, but we're also pushing ourselves occasionally at the same time. That middle ground tends to be the best for everyone. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day.